3 days, it will have been exactly a year since I quit my corporate job. I worked in investment banking for 2 years before that, and I left on 10th of September 2015. Um, Now there's a lot to say about this story, and I don't want to bore you with everything, but I want to tell you a little bit about the journey all the way to me resigning, because uh, when I joined investment banking in August 2013, I was quite excited, and it was all new, and I moved countries, came from Paris in France to live in London and to start this new job, and it was all very exciting. I had a month of training, which was really cool. A lot of team building exercises, a lot of novelty, and I really enjoyed it. And then I worked for a few months in a team, and then I changed teams because I was on a graduate program, so I was rotating. And then in the second team, I started asking myself the question of actually what is it that I want to do with my life? Why am I actually here? Um, and it came from a sense of a little bit of boredom, to be very honest. In that new team, I didn't do a job that was fulfilling. It wasn't exciting to me. It was a bit boring, and I felt I wasn't also taken very seriously. Um, I'm not blaming anything or anyone. It's just how I perceived it at the time, how I felt, and I think this boredom is what prompted me to start thinking, what am I actually achieving here? Who am I doing this for? Where am I heading? And I started also realizing, that I did not necessarily want to become like some of my managers. I didn't want to do what they were doing in 15 years' time. And that for me was a really strong piece of evidence that I was not doing the right thing, that I was not in the right job. Because if you don't aspire to be whoever is your boss, in terms of like the work they do every day, then you're probably not really in the right line of work. It's not the one that is most inspiring and fulfilling for you, at least. So I started questioning, but I could tell you a story about, that it was kind of glamorous. I discovered investment banking wasn't for me, and I went on to do my own thing. Didn't work like that too much. I mean, after I started asking myself the question, what do I really want to do with my life? I stayed for another year and a half in investment banking, right? That was a year and a half of emotional roller coaster, because at least in the first few months it was very intense. I couldn't understand why my friends and colleagues, same age group and same guys complaining about a few things, but ultimately why they could deal with it. Well, they seemed to be able to deal with it, and they were okay with their choice to be in that field and work in this job, and I couldn't. I felt really inadequate. I felt like I was letting down, even my education, my parents for having helped me go to business school, and because I was not inspired by going to another corporate job. I really wanted to do something meaningful, so I started looking into psychology. Should I go back to study psychology? Should I go and work for war zone charities? Should I join the police force? Like, I really started looking into so many different things because I had no clue what I really wanted to do. I just knew that I was starting to feel really unfulfilled where I was, but I was kind of trained in business and economics and big companies, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So that was a very unpleasant time. Very unpleasant. I was feeling like I didn't fit anymore, and at the same time, I was clueless about which direction to go towards. And I was lucky to be supported by people around me, people in my family, people close to me, who suggested that I read some books and who kind of supported me through that period of time. And I think that was absolutely key in me having a bit of space and energy to look into other things. And ultimately, I dived into personal development first for myself on the side. I was still in my job. I was still uh, working as an investment banker, but I was reading a lot on the side and trying to find, how to take control over my life, how to find what you want to do, and all these things in self-help that were useful, at least to get started, at least to get thinking and to get hungry for more. They were very useful. I'm not saying I found answers in them, because ultimately what I'm doing today in coaching is very different to what I started learning 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago now. But they were helpful to get started. And I started looking, and then I decided to book a course at some point. I already mentioned it in hypnotherapy because I could do it on the weekends, and it still touched upon psychology and all that, but without forcing me to go back to university. Um, so I could kind of do it alongside my job and discover a new field that was very intriguing, and it was a bit of a mystery for me. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I still didn't know where I was heading, and I still was very unfulfilled in my work. And ultimately, little by little, I felt, yeah, I'm gonna leave. Yeah, I'm gonna go and do my own thing. But then I was also terrified because I had no idea what that was about. I had no idea how I would actually set up my own business. When I was in business school, I always thought I would work in a big company. That was my truth. It seemed to be. I'm not an entrepreneur. I never thought of myself as a self-employed guy. I fit well in big companies. I fit well in a big structure, following a career path, going up the ladder. That is what my perception of myself was when I was in business school. And suddenly, like a year and a half after graduation, I was starting to consider going out, as a pirate and build up my own thing. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. It was a complete 180-degree shift for me. Um, and it was exciting and intriguing, but I didn't even know if it was the path. And the truth is, I left in September 2015, so a year ago, to set up a hypnotherapy practice to begin with. And it took some time, and so I did some tutoring on the side as well to help younger people, teenagers, to boost their own self-confidence with academic topics. But that was also not quite, the idea I had of my business. And I started with something. That's the point I want to make, is that I left with nothing set up. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's how I did it. And I still managed to go through. And I'm still here now, and I'm still doing stuff that now is extremely fulfilling to me. And I've changed a lot on the way. Since I resigned, I'm now doing coaching 100%. I left hypnotherapy behind. It was very useful for a time, but now it's behind me. And all I'm saying is that whatever your journey, whatever the path you choose to do, it's got many twists and turns, and that's the way it's going to go, and that's the best way it can go, because then you get to explore so many different things. You get to constantly follow your own voice, and if you think something is actually more inspiring and more fulfilling, you can steer the direction. You can steer the car, the ship, whatever metaphor you want to use, to go towards that new direction that is fulfilling for you. I think for me the biggest difference is the freedom that I have today to follow my own agenda, to follow my own decisions, to structure and design my life and my day to day in a way that inspires me, that's exciting for me. And I had to explore many things to get here. And I'm not done. But it's a journey. It's constant exploration. If you want to go down that path, as Steve Jobs said, keep looking and don't settle. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So start now, start looking, explore things. Don't listen necessarily to the naysayers and the people who will care about you but be afraid for you and tell you to stick with whatever you're doing until you have like some kind of wonderful business plan or a business idea that will shoot up like Facebook when it just started. You don't need to do this necessarily. If it's more comfortable for you, sure, by any means. If you're more like risk averse and you want to have more security about your next project, by all means, then prepare thoroughly and in a clever way. But you don't need it. You don't need it. I didn't do it, and I'm still absolutely fine. And in the last year, I've followed my path, and it was fulfilling and inspiring, and I've learned so much on the journey. That's what I wanted to share with you, In any case, a year ago, I quit investment banking, and since I've been designing my life, literally. And I wish for you that you keep looking and you don't settle.